Good morning. Welcome back. It is Wednesday, March the 19th. We are getting through this year. Your favorite unk is here. We're back. I'm not back at the crib. I'm still here at this hotel. I think I may have told you some of y'all. Some of y'all know my girl lives down in San Antonio, and I didn't want to work out of her house. We got dogs, people running around, so I got a hotel to work out of during the day, hang out there, and spend the night over there. Y'all need to know all the information. You just want to know where the hell I am. This is where I am, but I'm still here. I'm here. I'm down. I'm locked in, and of course, today's the day. Today's the day that we got to talk about RT and everything that's going to happen tonight. So get locked in, get loaded as we have what could be, we'll see. It'll either be one of many Rodney Terry conversations or one of the last Rodney Terry conversations we're going to have. We're going to have a Rodney Terry conversation as well. We're also going to have a conversation. I got some information for y'all. I did kicked some tires on some things this weekend, and I got some really good Tory Becton information that I want to pass along. It's kind of quiet on the 40 acres. So let me go ahead and tweet this thing out. And I'm about to get loud. I don't give a damn. I'm in a hotel room, but at the end of the point, everybody needs to be up. So everybody needs to be up. So I cannot be worried about waking up the neighbors. Let me retweet this thing real quick, and then let's get this thing started. Today's the day. Whether you care about the Texas Longhorn program or you're just one of those people who like to watch the car crash, everybody's going to be watching tonight as Texas plays against Xavier. And I know all y'all care about the men's basketball program. Don't get me wrong. But question is, to what degree? I posed that question to Catch a couple of days ago. Because I'm like, do people really care? Or are they really more about the whole mob mentality? Right? Is this just the mob mentality? Like, man, this thing is not going good, so let's just go ahead and pile on? Or does the people really, really care? We're about to find out. Because right now, if you're Rodney Terry, to some degree, your fate is in your own hands. It really is. It really is. And look, your fate's been in your own hands, if we be quite honest with you, all year long. It has been, right? It in some ways, it shouldn't come down to this, right? It should not come down to show me something over the next couple of weeks in order for this whole relationship to continue, right? You shouldn't be in a committed relationship for a few years, and it comes down to, all right, you need to show me something over the next 2 weeks. Now, some of us have been there. Some of us have been there. We understand what that is, when you got to get to that point and you get to that breaking point. But the stakes are here. The stakes are high. It is what it is. It's interesting. I was watching the Rodney Terry press conference the other day. It was yesterday. And I was watching the Rodney Terry press conference, and I found it fascinating. And reporters who are there, who cover the team, don't get mad at me, but I found it fascinating that no one had asked him about his fate and what it all entailed. Now, I get it, right? I get it. If you're a reporter who's covered the Texas men's basketball team all year long, and you say to yourself, well, damn it, man, if you wanted that question asked, why don't you get your ass on a plane and come here and ask it, right? I get it, right? I understand what that's like. I'm sit there on Mondays, and then I get one question in, and then what's up, Chris Bennett? How you feeling, man? I know you just had surgery. How you feeling? How you recovering from the surgery, Chris? How you doing? Good to see you. But I'm glad you're amongst us, right? But how did the surgery go for Chris Bennett? Chris Bennett had his first surgery. He announced to everybody here. So how are you doing, Chris Bennett? So I get it, because then you go through the press conference, you ask your questions, and then you got to listen to people say none of the reporters asked this particular question. I was surprised that the reporters asked this particular question. It's all the people, on our YouTube channels, other YouTube channels, so on and so forth, right? And sometimes I'm like, but damn it, man, if you wanted that question asked, get your ass down down to Moncrief, and you can ask it as well. Like, there's nothing stopping you. This is the same thing I get when we do Sark on Thursdays, and he's on Zoom, and everybody's there. Everybody's on it. And then the same people who critique questions being asked or not asked, or the same people on the conference call and never ask a question, right? So I get that if you're if you're out of town and you're covering the Texas men's basketball team, and someone is saying, "Hey, I'm surprised you didn't ask this question." I know I get the middle fingers if y'all want to throw the middle fingers at me. So I get it. Eric Henry said Golden Kurt Bowles. And all y'all out there, not Terry Middleton, because he's such a nice guy. Terry Middleton would never do anything like that. But anybody else, I totally get it. But the question wasn't asked. And I get it. There's a part that they probably say, you know what? What's the purpose of asking him that, right, at this moment? But we all know what tonight is about. And Chris Bennett says he's doing good. Thanks for the kind words. Good, Chris Bennett. I'm glad you're doing good, man. Surgery. Let's be clear. None of us like surgery, and when you gotta have surgery, like, oh man. And you for a minute, but you start thinking, all right, they gotta put me under anesthesia. There's always that moment of mortality, right? Like, y'all know what you're doing, right? It's that thing. So Chris Bennett, I'm so glad that you're doing well. Hopefully you're in recovery. You don't have to tell us what everything is, but I'm glad to see that the original OG of super fans is feeling good. Chris Bennett, just real quick, and I'll get back to my subject at hand. Chris, before all, and I call them super fans. I don't know what to call these people who are like real popular, right there. I just call them super fans, like Kyle or Doc, Texas, and you go down the list of people, and I just, they're super fans to me. But Chris Bennett was kind of like that first guy who was the fan that had like a good following, and everyone knew who he was, and all those kind of things. And so he's I consider him one of the pioneers of this. And then obviously people have taken it over. People got graphics now, like people on some next level stuff. Fan bases hate them, so it's cool to see. I love it, by the way. I absolutely love it. I think some reporters get intimidated by it, but I love it. I love to see it. I love to see the fandom. I love to see the enthusiasm. It's not competition for me. It's really seeing what people do. And so I love it. So I love the guys like Chris Bennett, all those guys who do their thing, and ladies, by the way. Ladies do that as well. So Catherine is one of the list. South End Zone Queen. Like, there's a bunch of folks who are super fans, men and women. So good to see you, Chris Bennett. But now we're kind of at the point where we say today, we know what today's about. It's this whole everything for today, and if you want to get past today, and if you can get past today, it's all about. Now look. Let's be clear. If you don't get past today, a lot of slow singing, a lot of flower bringing. It's over. It's over. It's over. It's over. He's got to at least get past today. And he's going to have to. He's going to have to make a run so deep that whatever plan Chris Del Conte has is he's got to hit the brakes. He will have to be able to hit the brakes on that. And can he do it? I don't know. It's interesting because he's facing the Xavier coach, Sean Miller, right? And when you go back in history here, and you go back to that whole kind of 2023 thing, and you go back to the Texas having to let go of Chris Beard for the domestic violence charges, right? when that stuff happens, here's the interesting thing, especially by the reports that have been out there. With the reports, I, by the way, do believe. Um, One of the person that the reports have said, I think it's 24/7 has said it. I think CBS Sports, but they're kind of intertwined, and other people have said is that the person that Chris Delcani actually wanted to hire was Sean Miller, who's now the person that he's facing today, ironically, right? Um, but the problem that they I say optics standpoint was that you just had Texas beat Xavier. And so there was a challenge of how do we give the Xavier coach the job to a guy that he just lost to? Now, in hindsight, it's a little narrow minded, right? But I do believe that to be true from an optics standpoint, right? Um, let me tell you a story that you may or may not know. I don't know. Probably don't. But I'm going to take you back into the time machine. Let's go back to 2020. Let's go back to that era of COVID. Y'all remember that? That was crazy. Crazy to think that was only 5 years ago, right? The whole world shut down, right? We're all trying to get through that BS, right? And so in Texas, as you guys know, at that time frame, was dealing with so much stuff. Our world, we were dealing with so much stuff. Like just our world, whether it was COVID, and then of course there was the protests and all these kind of things that are going on, right? And then we found ourselves in this whole as a Texas controversy, right? And so that thing was wild and out of control, right? That thing was going out of control, and so there was a decision that was being made at the time that we're going to have to probably part ways with Tom Herman after the season. And the person that was really the first choice for the job was actually Penn State coach James Franklin. And that was the person that they were eyeing for to take over. You know what the problem was? Penn State sucked that year. They sucked. Because you got to remember that was that shortened season. Remember, because that's a lot. So you went down to like 10 games, right, when it was all said and done. And Texas has a couple of games, canceled here and there. I think they had like a Kansas game canceled, I believe, that season. I think they took the USF game off the schedule. So anyway, at the end of the day, from an optics standpoint, and I know this to be true, from an optics standpoint, the decision was made that we can't hire James Franklin because at the end of the day, the team finished 4-5 that season. Go back and look it up. Penn State was horrible that year. So optics-wise, the administration said, and Chris Delcani, can't go in that direction. And so at the end of the day, we know what direction that they went into. And it's crazy sometimes how your first choice sometimes isn't your best choice. Sometimes that second choice actually ends up being the first choice, right? Or the best choice when it's all said and done. Because at the end of the day, I don't know if there's a Texas fan out there who would trade, James Franklin, Steve Sarkisian for James Franklin. None, right? But it just so ends up, sometimes things they just go the way that they're supposed to go, right? And how you want to call it, like destiny or whatever words that you want to use. If you're a spiritual person, if you just believe in Mother Earth, like, whatever, I'll judge wherever you're at, right? So, but I know when it comes to Del Conte, optics do matter to him. They do matter to him. He factors optics into the decisions. So when I hear that the optics of hiring the Xavier coach over Miller, over Rodney Terry at that time, I 100% believe him because I know what the optics look like and I know how the optics factored in. Sean Miller, I know how the optics factored in previously. And so, but now there is this ironic thing where there's a thought process now that no optics be damned. Okay, anything that happened as a result of him getting fired for his previous job is not even an issue nowadays. No one cares. And at the end of the day, this literally could be two ships passing the night. Tonight's game, in some ways, the prize literally could be the Texas men's basketball job. It really could be. It's short. It's a chance to move forward, and we all think like it's potentially a chance to move forward, but it's also a chance to be the Texas men's basketball coach. Now, I'm under the belief that it will take a run of runs for Rodney Terry to remain at Texas. It's gotta be something because at the end of the day, it's one of those fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. And at the end of the day, I don't believe that it's just, oh, well, win a game or two and then that's it. There's too many. I've said this before this week, but there's too many teams doing well on the 40 acres for that. And basketball has kind of been carrying up the rear, and so it would take something, and I mean a hell of a run. Again, this is my opinion. This is not my reporting. I mean, y'all know for the most part, I'm a football guy, but I'm also logic as well. And logic is all it takes to kind of figure out some things. Logic says they've been down this path before. They were a prisoner in the moment, and now they're right back where they started from. Right back where they started from, right? And so, when you say Sweet 16 soon, I don't know. I don't think Sweet 16 is good enough. Because this is literally, if you're back in the same place, like you hired Steve Sarkisian, right? Not to be back where you started from, where you hired him. You hired him to be exactly where you are, where now the talking points, the conversation, everything about Sark, it's all about, can this team compete for a national championship? We're not talking about, can this team get to a bowl game? Can this team win a bowl game? Can this team get over that hump, right? Can this team make the playoffs? Can this team forget playoffs? Can the team get to a championship game, with a conference championship game, Big 12, SEC? Like we're so far past that. Like that box has been checked. But we're back to the Rodney Terry box of like, okay, well, what are we going to check? And so I don't even think Sweet 16 is good enough. I think it's got to be deeper than that. Because, look, when you start thinking about not only the program, but when you start thinking about recruiting, anybody that commits to him now, if you're a recruit, an elite recruit, okay, and you commit to him 2025, but what happens by the time that the end of the 2025, 2026 season rolls around? Is the coach still there? And recruits have to figure out, even if there's a quote unquote miracle run, is the program stable enough for me to commit to this? Or do I just go where I know everyone checks the box? Do I, you know what I'm saying? Like there's other programs that are out there that you're not having to worry about that. You don't have to worry about that if you're an elite recruit, you want to go to Houston. You don't have to worry about that if you want to go to Duke. You don't want to have to worry about this if you go to Kansas. Like, go down the list of programs that you feel that are incredibly stable. And so from a recruiting perspective, you're telling yourself, man, I don't even know if this is the spot that I need to go to. So that's why I say deeper. And I know Christo kind of pays attention to recruiting because, as we've highlighted this before, recruiting is one of the issues that led to Tom Herman's demise, right? Recruiting basically had dried up, and they knew that it was just going to be tough. And we're at a point now, especially when you lose Trey, like, the only way to replace it is to go to the transfer portal. So it really boils down to, you would have to make it so far, so deep, to the point where you got to blow up the plan. And if you're Rodney Terry, your goal would have to be to just blow up anything that's out there. Is it possible? Sure. But I mean, you got to get past Xavier tonight. That's where it starts. I remember a few years ago, when I say a few years ago, it's been a while ago when I think about it now. There's been a lot of, I've covered some coaches that have been fired at Texas, right? All of them except the Sark, right? Since I've been here. And I remember how Texas didn't necessarily want to fire Charlie Strong, right? And it was basically communicated. Look, man, all you got to do is just be Kansas, and you're home free. You're back for another year. Just be Kansas. Get bowl eligible. We're good. Okay, we'll make it work. And everybody knew what the stakes were. I was in there. I was in Lawrence at that time. Everybody knew what the stakes were. And I remember just being halfway through that game at some point and telling myself, this is going to screw this thing up, isn't it? I'm like, is it? And we're in the second half, I'm like, is this really about to happen? And when we got to the fourth quarter, I mean, Deontay Foreman's running crazy. Nothing else is happening, right? But Shea Buechele's throwing interceptions. Like, it's just so bad. And at the end of the day, I'm standing there on the sidelines, and Kansas wins. All of a sudden, I'm just like, there's like only 10 people in the stands, but they all stormed past me and stormed the field, tore down a goalpost, right? David Beatty gets an extension, like, just crazy stuff, right? And I remember going outside the locker room, and I'm seeing the wives of the coaches. They're out there. They're all emotional. They're all crying. They knew it was over, right? And that week, Texas playing TCU, the entire staff, they cleaned out their desks. They cleaned out because they knew it was over, right? They just knew it was over. Every single one of them cleaned out their offices, cleaned out their desks. It was barren. They go get their asses kicked in the final game, and then everybody's fired. And then Tom Herman gets hired, and then they do 5-minute interviews, and everyone's fired, right? So Jeff Traylor was fired, but look at Jeff Traylor holding it down there at UTSA. And so it was, but we knew going into that game what needed to happen and what needed to occur. The thing is, as we go into this game, and potentially this week, but going into this game, it's not as clear. And the fact that it's not as clear, and the fact that we don't have a clear set of, all you have to do is ... and you're good. The fact that the people who cover the team day in and day out, and the fact that the people who have ties to the administration, those people who I know have administrative ties, right? Those people are reporting on candidates And those people who are reporting on, when you start hearing about, man, you know, O'Connor actually didn't want to hire this guy. The last time I heard that was a couple of years ago when I heard that Chris O'Connor didn't want to hire Steve Sarkisian. There was a report out there, but he had actually wanted to hire Sonny Dykes instead from TCU. That I was like, oh, okay, I got it. This is what I do for a living, so I know who's close to who. The fact that we're hearing about the end as opposed to how this thing's going to get extended, that's why I say, okay, well, RT, what you're going to have to do is if you really, really want to do something, man, you're going to have to go on a hellified run in order to make this happen. Now, can he make it happen? Let's figure this thing out. My man put together a hellified graphic. My man Tyler, the producer, the ultimate producer, put this together here. Let's look at the matchups. Let's check this thing out. This is a really kick-ass. This and I'm not even going to tell you. I don't want to say too much because then someone's going to hire him away. He's like the only producer I think I've had that I like Aaron. Aaron was a good producer. I do like Tyler a lot. If we just kind of break down the matchups here, you've got Trey Johnson, and you can see overall what he's averaging per game, rebounds and assists. And then you got obviously Zach Fremantle, who I'm hoping I'm saying his name correctly, at 17.4 points a game, 7 rebounds, 2 assists. Then you look at points per game; it's pretty damn even as far as both teams, Texas and Xavier. Points allowed, again, very even between the both of them. Field goals made. I mean, we're just about dead as even with that one as well. I mean, you can see why Xavier's only a 3.5 favorite tonight. Threes, only about a 1 differential, less than a 1, then the differential 9.1 versus 8.3. You can see the 11.3 versus the 9.9 here. And then the assist, you're looking at 12.9. And the only difference is maybe Xavier is better at ball distribution. That's also completing it as well. So it's damn near close, though, y'all. It is damn near close. It's a late game now. So some of y'all old folks are going to have to take a nap and make sure you stay up. It's a little bit of a late game. I believe it's on True TV, if I'm correct. I think I saw something like that said it's on True TV. So you guys got to go and check it out just to make sure. But I believe it's True TV. So again, really close matchup between all these guys here. So again, RT, it's now or never, buddy. It is what it is. You control your own destiny. Your fate is within your own hands. It's really up to you. Here's another thing that's up to you guys. I leave it up to you. Tomorrow, Thursday, if you're looking for a place to go watch the games, TCH Social, which basically, if you're in Austin, it's up 183. And if you go up 183 and you know where that aquarium is, that the aquarium will be, like if you go north, it's going to be on your left-hand side. I believe it's in that plaza. If you guys know where I'm talking about, it's like an Asian restaurant. There's a bookstore, half-price bookstore in there. There's an Asian restaurant there. Kids place, and then there's I'm pretty sure it's in that parking lot. If not, it's the one right beforehand. Regardless, it's in that area. All right, use your GPS. There's going to be a watch party. Texas won't be putting that one. May not be involved, but we as an OB staff are going to be out there. We're going to be chilling. I would say if you wanted to come and hang with us and have some food and some drinks, I would say probably late afternoon is when the majority of us would get there, probably around that 5-ish time or so, and probably try to hang out there towards the evening. So if you want to join me, I think Catch said he's going to be out there. Supermel should be out there. Not quite sure about Alex. Cody doesn't live in town, so Cody won't be out there, but some of us will be. So I'm planning to go out there. I'm kid free, so I'm gonna be back in the town, leave this hotel, and come out there and hang with y'all. So if you're looking for something to do tomorrow, and you went to some place to go watch the game, come out there. We'll probably have some drink specials. Uber out there. Take that Uber. I keep reminding myself, Uber, Uber, Uber. Don't end up in Travis County. Definitely don't end up in Wilco. Golly, help us all if we got to end up in Wilco. So come on out there. I'll be out there probably about 5 o'clock or so, enjoying myself. Unless I get my work done early, and then I might just show up at 3 and just chill. You'll know me. I'll be the guy sitting in the corner like this. But come out there tomorrow if you want to. If we should go out there and have a really good time. So I should see Harish come out there. Harish showed up at the last event that we had at wherever Austin FC practices. I forget the name of that spot, but Harish showed up there for a couple of different people. So Harish, if you're not doing anything, come on out there. Money B, Rodolfo, all y'all come on out. You know what's he said, Trex guy said a weird ass aquarium. I've never, by the way, ever been into that aquarium. I've seen aquariums in major cities, and I've never really seen them in a strip mall. And I've just really been, the pitch. I've been really suspect. I'm not gonna lie. I've been really suspect on that whole aquarium setup there. And maybe if y'all been there, you can tell me if it's all right or not. But I'm just like, aquariums seem like it should be bigger than that. I don't like what kind of shark do you have in a strip mall? Like, I don't know. Like, you don't know. Something about that seemed bootleg to me. So I've never been to the Austin Aquarium. If people from the Austin Aquarium feel like they can convince me otherwise, that it's not just a bunch of goldfish running around in there, y'all can give me some free tickets and prove me wrong. But right now, I've never taken my kids out there. I just be honest with you. I don't know what the hell they're doing. This has been kind of a lull. We're in a little bit of a lull right now because it's spring break at UT. And so because it's spring break at UT, there's no practices that are going on this week. I've checked in a couple of different folks, and there's guys just visiting different spots. Everyone's kind of refueling and re-energizing. People are taking their kids to coaches are taking their kids to Kalahari. I'm assuming that. But if you got kids, I'm sure you got to take your kids to Kalahari, right? So I'm just assuming that. And then everyone else, players are out, kind of doing their thing. And I thought it would be like Torres says it's something. See, I knew there's no way you can have a real ass aquarium. Like aquariums are supposed to be big, like amusement park kind of stuff, right? Aquariums are huge. I'm like, is it a strip plaza? A strip mall? There's no way this aquarium is legit. There's no way this aquarium is legit. Anyway, by the way, Mike, I'll take that 1-0 win that we got over the weekend, man. But man, we need to get some points. Like we need to score. But I'll take it. But man, Mike, we got to score more. So I use this kind of as an opportunity, since it was kind of a lull. I was like, all right, well, let me see. I wanted to kind of find out a little bit. But I told y'all last week, like I did some kind of like kicking some tires on some things, and people were telling me a little bit about Nick Brooks, right? How Nick Brooks has basically kind of transformed his body, going from 385 pounds down to 350. He's a freshman, and he's a guy that I told y'all last week I was suspect on. Speaking of suspect, because I said, well, if he had 385, that means he probably closer to 400. And so I just thought this might be a young man that kind of ate his way out of an opportunity, but come to find out that he actually is fine. Like he's doing good. He's working hard. People have compared him to potentially Kelvin Banks. Now I'm not going that far on that one. I'll wait and see how he develops. We got to see how he does when they get into a football setting. But I was told he had less than 20% body fat. So I started saying to myself, okay, well, that's clearly another Tory Becton production, right? Tory Becton, the strength and conditioning coach at UT. And I was like, all right, this would be a good week to really kind of dive into what does Tory Becton, his impact here at the program. Another thing that someone told me about Brooks, by the way, is that on the GPS monitoring system, that he was running right around 18 miles per hour, which a little bit below it, a little bit below 18 miles per hour. So 17 miles per hour. I don't know why they said below 18 miles per hour. It doesn't really make any sense. Just say 17. So anyway, I started thinking about. I've talked to y'all recently about this, about all the strength and conditioning coaches that people used to get hyped up about, right? Anthony McKnight, Pat Moore. And the Pat Moore thing was interesting because Alex had kind of I talked about the pit, right? Remember the pit? I found this Austin American Statesman article back from 2014. It was really interesting. Let me read you what was written back then about Pat Moore in the pit. It says stories of his workouts have become legendary, but none carry as much weight as the pit, which is basically a chamber of horrors for injured football players, thinly disguised as a workout regimen. It's designed to work the uninjured parts of an injured player's body while not so gently sending the message that the training room isn't a place of rest and relaxation. Case in point, former Louisville cornerback Jordan Pascal, who was out with a leg injury. 1 minute, Pascal was standing on the sideline with crutches. The next, according to a Louisville Courier Journal, he was in a ditch shoveling dirt, something that he would do for an hour in the heat of the day. In the Courier Journal, Pat Moore described the pit as the place nobody wants to go, and as a place where our injured players go. And I thought to myself, well, that don't make any sense. Wait a second. I'm hurt. I'm trying to recover. And your solution is, you're hurt, are you? You want to rest and relax and recover? Hell no. Get out there and dig some dirt. What? Shovel some dirt. That'll help you recover. Did it though? Did it? No, it didn't. You know why it didn't matter? And know why it was kind of BS? Because Texas finished 6-7, 5-7, 5-7. And it really doesn't make any sense, right? Anthony McKnight comes, and some former players say, like, hey, the heavy lifting led to injuries, right? And so Becton kind of comes in and takes a different approach. Because one, the main thing that he focuses on is speed, right? That's the thing I'm told he focuses a lot on is speed, right? When I say I'm told, like I asked a lot of people about this last week. And there's a high focus on speed. And they said that one of the things they told me is like, all you have to do is look at what the receivers are doing at the combine and the numbers that they're putting up, and you can see what that focus on speed really looks like. And that's a Becton thing. And you kind of made sure they reminded me that Becton's wife actually ran track when she was in college. She actually was an All-American sprinter and jumper at Miami. So there's a guy who's married to someone who knows exactly about speed. So he focuses a lot on getting on the speed aspect of it for his people. Not only for the obvious, like the receivers and the DBs, but offensive linemen, defensive linemen, and that's for them, it's short bursts of speed. So I was told, like, hey, that's like a 10-yard thing, 10-yard burst. Like, we're not asking these guys to run 30, 40 yards down the field per se, but that 10 yards there, we need them to be the fastest that they can be. So there's an emphasis on speed within those guys, right? And those players, that burst of speed. And then, of course, someone even pointed out, and it was true, and I had to go back and look at it. But when we remember Arch Manning and that long run that he had against UTSA, where he scored a touchdown, I believe it was like 64 yards, somewhere in there. Don't quote me, but it's right around there. I'm pretty close to accurate. One of the things that he was asked about in the offseason, he was asked about that run, and he actually credited Tory Becton for that run and what he was able to do with it. I'm going to see if there was a quote here. Let me see if I can find it. He said, but I had to credit that to, he started off by saying when adrenaline kicks in, it helps you run a little bit faster, right? But he said, but I had to credit that to Tory Becton, our head weight coach. He runs our tails off in the summer. So I think I've gotten a bit faster since I've been here on campus. Now, he's always been an athlete, like Duke also is a baller. But the thing is, and why I bring up Becton is because this is the kind of portion of the offseason where it's about the conditioning that next week we're going to get into spring football, right? So it's kind of like Becton worked with these guys during winter conditioning. He hands them off to the coaches, who then will take it there as far as like doing all the football stuff. Then he kind of jumps back in for the summer workouts and then getting those guys ready for training camp. And so that's the kind of genesis of the Becton conversation. If you're just like, why the hell are you talking about him right now? Well, it's because it's basically his show. And now we're kind of at that pause section as we continue to go on. And good morning to you, Doug, as well. And so basically, I've said this story before, but I can't assume that you guys watch every single show. It would be great if you did, but I understand you can't. And a couple of years ago, Texas is playing against Alabama. They're on the road. So it was the rematch, right? You're not going to continue hurting our quarterback game. That game, right? And so Texas, if you remember that distinctly, if you remember that correctly, when we start getting into the second half, you start seeing the offensive line, especially the offensive line. You start seeing the offensive line just manhandling Alabama, manhandling them. There's videos out there if you're on social media, you can see the offensive line just tossing guys, right? And there's a physicality about that, right? Defensive line as well. And you saw it most on the offensive line. And Texas goes and wins by 10 points on the road in Tuscaloosa, something that doesn't happen. And I'm standing there on the sidelines. Someone grabs me. And the person says, that's why Tory Becton worked those guys the way he did in the summer. And I go, huh? What are you talking about? He said, I heard what you guys said. These people watch these shows. They take notes. And in the summer, what was happening is that Tory Becton was running the guys in the heat, right? In the heat. And sometimes we would go out to like a practice, especially in the fall. And I found out like they have these specific rules, right? And so one of the rules is, okay, if you're eating at this moment, just for the next 35 seconds until I give you the thumbs up, just turn it off. Just turn it off, okay? So I'll give you the thumbs up. Just turn me off. I'll give you a thumbs up where you can come back in, okay? 3, 2, 1. You've been warned. All right, so they have this rule that when you vomit during the workouts, you are not allowed to put your hands, I was going to say on your knees, hands on your knees. Now, you can't put your hands on your knees, right? um, you have to stand up, right? Like there's a rule about it. You just got to stand up and let it hurl out at that point, right? But the mentality was putting your hands on your knees shows weakness. We're not going to be a weak team anymore. And so little things like that, right? So he's running them all summer and it's out in the heat. Like it was one of those, it was like 2023. So y'all remember like that summer, we were like at over 100 for like a billion straight days, right? I think we broke. Oh, by the way, there you go. You're good. Come on back in. And so we're at over 100 for like a bunch of straight days. I don't know, it was like 40 straight days, something crazy like that. And I had made some comments like, man, Tory Becton about to kill these boys out here. They all took little mental notes, right? And it said that's why he ran them in the heat. That's why. And the reason is to make them tougher. And when they got to Bama, they got to Tuscaloosa, what you saw was a team that was so mentally prepared in the offseason, in the summertime, and then, of course, training camp. By the time they got to Tuscaloosa, it was on and popping. And so what we have seen throughout the years now is a team that if they lose a game, we don't look at it and say we lost it because of they lost because of conditioning. Like we felt that way. Like this used to be a team that you got to the fourth quarter and they started and then they would just run away with it, right? We've seen that before. We saw that for plenty of years where this was never a fourth quarter team. Now we see a team that's a fourth quarter team. Now it comes down to the little things like the execution, right? And that's not on Becton. That's just on the staff and the players, and that's all that kind of thing. So I started hearing all these stories about guys who, once again, are in tremendous shape. He's got them going in the right direction. And so the other thing that people told me as relates to Becton, I think is really interesting as relates to the conversation, is that they view him as a tremendous communicator who is very honest with the players and a guy that not only honest with the players and the staff, but someone that they can rely on and trust. And why I say that is that there's former players who, as they're getting ready for the draft, say, we want to come back and train with Tory, or at least Coach Becton, or TB, or whatever the hell it's called. And there is a belief behind the system and behind it. But when he sits down and talks to guys, the guys believe in him. The staff believes in him. I was told that three NFL teams tried to hire him away this offseason. 3 NFL teams tried to hire him away this offseason. 3. It was the Jets, the Titans, and the Saints. The Jets were the most serious of all the contenders. They're the ones that put down a good offer for him. And Steve Sarkisian said, yeah, that's not going to happen. Find a way to make it happen. Someone get Brandon Harris on the phone and make sure this guy gets the deal that he wants. But the last thing what we're going to do is lose him. That's how important he is. But when it comes to the players, he has this trust amongst the players that previous staff members can't say that they had, that he's able to talk to them, communicate to them, set a goal for them, set plans for them, and they all buy in. But I say it all to say, when you start thinking about the Texas offseason and you start thinking about where they're at in the hands that they're in, just know that you're going to come out next week and just I'm foreshadowing here. Next week, first practice is going to be on Tuesday. I'm sure there'll be some sort of media availability, and you're going to see pictures of guys that you haven't seen before, or you're going to see pictures of guys that you haven't seen since last year. And when you see it and you see the all get off the bus team and you see the physiques of those people, just know that all of that is going to be a Tory Becton production, not only for him, but of course his staff and the things that they do. And I just wanted to kind of pass that thing along to you as well. In any case, Good morning to you, Stephanie. Where the hell are you at, by the way? East Coast time. Where are you? Stephanie's one of my neighbors. So I don't even know where she. I guess she doesn't have to check in with me. But Stephanie's out doing something. Hey, again, just a last final reminder. I just want to make sure I put that out there for those who join it late. Tomorrow, watch party. If you're looking for something to do, come on out. Watch the games. Watch some games with us. Have a good time. We're gonna sit back, relax, have some food, have some drinks. Show up at any point that you want to, but then make sure probably early evening. Show up about 5 or 6 or so. All orange bloods. At least the majority of us should be out there. So come on out. Bring your friends. Bring the wife. Bring your girlfriend. Not the girlfriend if you have a wife. Don't bring drama. But bring whoever you're with, your husband, or just come solo. I don't give a damn. Just come out there solo and have a good time. We'd love to see you again, wherever the hell Texas. Just look it up. Put it in your Waze. Put it in your GPS. We'll be out there. St. Pete Beach in Florida for spring break. All right. I hear you. You know, I'm from the Tampa Bay area, so have fun out there in St. Pete. Don't get into too much trouble, Stephanie. And then on that note, it's time for me to roll out. And I say roll out. I mean, I'm in a hotel room. I guess I ain't really rolling nowhere. But it's time for me to get out of here because we got the recruiting show coming up. So I got to clear the deck for them. So remember what I always say: live each day like it was your last. One day it will be. Enjoy it tonight. Rodney, Terry. Hey, man, it's all on you. This is it. This is your moment. It's up to you. Seize the opportunity. Hey, if I say live each day like it was your last, because one day it will be, then guess what, Rodney, Terry? You better go out on your sword. We'll see what happens. I'll be back tomorrow morning. Y'all take care. Peace out. Love you. Have fun. Stay